many of us back in the day, school lunch, if we were lucky, was a sandwich and maybe some fruit or maybe something a little less healthy. But these days, it would seem lunchboxes are a lot more interesting. But here's the question. Are they actually healthy? It's easy to buy the junk food, isn't it? Joined by dietitian Retha Harmse joining us this morning. Going to tell us how to make a healthy lunch for kids. Retha, good morning to you. You're under pressure because moms and dads and parents are about to send their kids off to school. Quickly change their mind. What needs to be in their lunchbox today?
Yeah, so I think a very important thing is we focus so much on the curriculum and in the school, and not that I'm saying that that's not important, but we first need to have our fuel for our brains to actually concentrate well. So when compiling a lunchbox, I try to keep it very basic. I have 6 things that I want you to think about. So the first thing is we want to include a fruit. So if we actually look at fruit, here we have my apple, which is in my lunchbox. So you want to include a fruit, whether that is in the form of cut up or berries, or whether you incorporate that into another salad, just include a fruit. Second one is a vegetable. This does not have to be like your typical cooked vegetables like we think on Sundays. This can even be the lettuce or the tomato that's in your wrap. So you can even serve this like little cherry tomatoes with some tzatziki or some hummus, or this can even be maybe if they are specific leftovers that your children enjoy that you can put into their lunchbox. Then the third category is going to be milk, yogurt, or cheese. So think about little cheese cubes. Think about a little just yogurt that you can use like this. I took off the marketing and the branding, but that you incorporate that calcium, that you incorporate that low GI energy. Then after that, I want you to think about protein. Now, this does not mean that it has to be meat. If you are plant-based, this can be falafel balls, but it's very easy if you have, let's say, leftover chicken drumstick, you can use that, put that into the lunchbox. Even if that's the slice of ham on the sandwich, that's also 100%. That actually brings me to the fourth category, that's grains. Try to choose as complex and as low GI where you can, so that you know that it's a slow release of energy into your child's bloodstream, that they have energy throughout the day. Remember, glucose is the brain's main and preferred energy source. So we don't want them to be running on sugar, but we want to give them that good glucose. So that can be your sandwich or your wrap or anything and to that extent. And then the last category is water. Very basic one. We very easily forget this one, but a very nice tip that I have is actually to freeze your water bottle, because then you know that it can actually act as an ice box to keep the rest of the lunchbox cool. So just to recap, if we look at those 6 categories, that can be a sandwich that has the grain, that can be coupled with, let's say, some lettuce or tomato, that's your vegetable. You have that with, let's say, a slice of cheese and a slice of ham. That's 4 categories. Then you have 1 fruit extra, and then maybe 1 extra let's say bottle of water that you've frozen. Perfect lunchbox just there.
Let's not ruin all the fun for the kids these days, though. Does the dietitian of Retha Harmse at least allow a little cheat meal every now and then, maybe a Friday treat? And what's a healthy-ish one to do if mom and dad are willing to do it?
So definitely, I'm glad that you mentioned treat. So I don't refer to it as a cheat, because the way that we speak about food is very important. So I would say you're allowed to have a treat, and I don't put a label on it should be this many times in a week or that many times. So the parents should trust their own intuition and teach their children how to listen to their bodies. When you're satisfied and you don't want to finish the rest of the chocolate, don't just gobble it down because it's here. But that can be to the extent to anything that the children like. If that is a chocolate, if that is a few chips, remember, if we deprive them too much, it's that thing about don't eat this. What is the only thing you want to eat? That item. So allow them to have those treats and those delectables, but keep it at the word treat, that it's not going to be your everyday. You can even think of that principle that we use for adults, 80-20. If you do the good things and the healthy things 80% of the time, the 20% won't break the bank.
Let me leave you with this last question, Retha, before we go. There's a lot of info to take in, the 6 steps to a healthy lunchbox. That's what I'm going to call it as well. Here's a problem, just before I say goodbye to you briefly. It can be quite expensive, though, to try and do these lunchboxes. Not every family is fortunate enough to be able to do that. They might have more than one child. They could have 3, could have 4. It could get very expensive. For people on a very tight budget, what would you recommend? What could you get away with?
My biggest thing is try and aim for progress and not for perfection. So I know that it often feels extremely expensive if we go think about the falafel balls and all those things that I mentioned that are your more expensive sources. But remember, something like a can of pilchards, it's a very good lean protein source with very good omega-3s. Something like Mars is a very affordable alternative to something like yogurt. If you even think about the cost of water in comparison to fizzy drinks. So try and look at these steps that we mentioned. If you think fruit and don't think dragon fruit and all these fancy berries, think apple, think banana, and just incorporate the things that are easy and doable for you. And if you listen to this and you're like, oh my goodness, I send my child to school with as you said, tuck shop money, and you know that they're not necessarily buying the best things, just incorporate one step as to when you start including these.
All right, so baby steps for the lunchbox. I also like the fact you had everything with you in the car as well. I enjoyed that. Retha Harmse, thank you very much indeed. Dietitian, some good tips as well on how to get your kids fed and fueled for the day. Appreciate your time. Retha Harmse, dietitian, joining us here on ENCA.